To the occasion, not my specialty, I might add, which is managing technical devices. What's kind of funny is when personal computers came out way back in the day, I I was really interested, and I actually learned code. And I would write code just for myself, and then that only lasted a few years until the whole industry was just growing too fast for me, and I just came up, bought everybody else's software. So I don't do code anymore, and I don't have time for it. I can't do it. I let everybody else do it. I focused on being a food scientist for you and for all the cool stuff that we have for you. And we're going to talk about some of that cool stuff. I want to start out with some of you have asked, what in the world is this big old mug that you see me drinking from sometimes? And what is that? That is not a strange brew. That is just Mother Nature's cure to thirst. Those of you that are not on the webinar, I'm holding up a blue jug of water. This holds 74.5 ounces of water, and I drink 1.5 of those a day. I have about 25, 30 ounces left to drink for the day. And why do I do it? Well, because I'm supposed to. And I am a product of the doctrine that I teach you. You need to be hydrated. As an added note, I've told you that you shouldn't drink water without electrolytes, because your body just doesn't hold on to the water well. It goes in your mouth, your stomach, goes right to your bladder, and out to the toilet. What holds the water at the cellular level are minerals, trace minerals, and electrolytes. You see, our body cannot hold on to water well. It's kind of like nailing snot to the wall. It just is not a very effective process. Or I should say, trying to hold water in the cup of our hand doesn't do it real well. It runs through our fingers and over the edges. However, our hands can hold on to a cup really, really well. And that cup holds on to water. Excellent. And so in this similitude that I'm talking to you about, the cup are minerals, and if you're not taking them, you're not being properly hydrated. So I put extra sodium, the real salt, right in my water, and I need to make sure that I'm getting enough of it. And so when you see me drinking, as I just did, it's to remind you that you need to drink too. So, and why is it this big a jug? Because I don't like walking around with all those little water bottles. I just fill mine up, and plus I'm kind of environmentally conscious, and I don't want to throw those little water bottles away where I can help it. So that's why you see me carrying that huge jug of water. Who am I? Jason Whitney with 3Believe. Thank you for coming out here and spending your time. I will do my very best to make sure that it is not a waste of time. I know that time is a commodity that you have a limited supply of. You'll never get it back, except for being on the 3Believe protocol. Seems to give us some time back. It turns back the the hands of time, so to speak, because we feel younger, we look younger, we act younger, we do things that we used to do that we no longer did before the program, and that kind of is like having your own personal time machine. And so in that sense, we do get some time back, but I'm going to make sure that I give you some good data. 3Believe is on a mission, and I've asked you to join us to spread the good news. That mission is to let people know that they do not have to live with the symptoms of metabolic syndrome. Metabolic syndrome is rampant. It is what the CDC says in the United States, that is known as the Centers for Disease Control. They say it's at epidemic levels. It's growing so fast. It's so fast that it's out of control. That's their definition of an epidemic. And how big of an epidemic? Well, you look out amongst your family and friends, 8 out of 10 people have at least one of the symptoms. And what is it that will classify you as medically being determined as having metabolic syndrome? So if you went in your doctor and you said to them, do I have metabolic syndrome? They'll run tests on you, and you have to have at least 2 of the following conditions to have what's called metabolic syndrome. That is being overweight, having high cholesterol, having elevated glucose levels, having elevated blood pressure, or having a fatty liver. Any 2 in any combination, and you have metabolic syndrome. Now, what's really important is that if you happen to dodge, let's say you go into the doctor's office and you're overweight, and he says, and you have high blood pressure too, and you wipe the sweat from your brow and say, thank goodness I dodged those other ones. I'm not unlucky enough to have type 2 diabetes. Well, you should know that what caused you to have that sustained excess weight and what prompts you physiologically to have elevated blood, what did I say, blood pressure? Was that the example I gave? Whatever what I mentioned, what caused those 2 and all the symptoms of metabolic syndrome are the same thing. So in other words, don't be too happy that you only have those 2, because if you continue to do what you've done to get those 2, you're going to get the other ones eventually, because it's a matter of time of doing the same thing that got the first 2 that you're going to get the other 3. And that's not a good thing. The good news, however, is that you can completely eradicate those symptoms. You can turn back the time for your body and get rid of it. Because what got you into that mess is eating the wrong macro balance of macronutrients. You got to balance them out. The right amount of carbohydrates, the right amount of fats, and the right amount of proteins. You have those in the right ratio, or in this case, the wrong ratio, and you're going to get the symptoms of metabolic syndrome. And that's not a Christmas present that you want to have. But you reverse that and you stop eating that way, and you have the macro balance, which we provide for you in a perfect scenario in the CMR. And you can reverse those symptoms. Your body does it for you. You don't have to count calories. You don't have to measure stuff. Well, the only thing you got to measure is 2 scoops in your shake, 2 pumps of oil. You throw in some water, maybe some unsweetened almond milk or cashew milk. Never any soy milk. I don't want you having any soy. And water and some ice, and you're good to go. That's all you need. It's all measured for you. That's the only measuring that you have to do. And so that's what we're here for. Now, you hear me from time to time bug you, nag you, plead with you, and even tempt you with the rewards of financial compensation to tell your friends and neighbors. Why would you keep it quiet? This is the greatest news that's hit the medical community in the last century. Now that's a bold statement. How can I make such a statement? Well, because the CDC says that 66% of all the deaths that occur every year in the United States are caused directly or indirectly by the symptoms of metabolic syndrome. 66%. So if you knew something that could prevent 66% of the people that you know from happening just by telling them about a program, sharing with them a product, isn't that a revolutionary answer to a problem that our nation is facing? Speaking of which, is now United States leads the world in the symptoms of metabolic syndrome, but you know who's number 2? India. You know who's number 3? Mexico. You know who's in the top 5? Australia. And so it's sadly expanding throughout the globe. The more westernized, more affluent, the more technologically advanced that nation becomes, the more they get closer to the symptoms of metabolic syndrome. It's sad, but it's true. So that's the reason why you should be telling everybody about it. And we have a fantastic compensation plan that rewards you extremely well for it. So that's what we're here to do. And let's talk about a little bit of business here first. Then we're going to get into some science. So the business is some of you are still, when you send in those little kits, your blood kit, you get that little blue little vial. You're not putting enough blood in that little vial. Now, it asks for 3 drops if you read the instructions, but I tell you to put in at least 5 drops. You got blood to spare. Your body will make more. Don't put too little in there, or the lab's not going to have enough, and they're going to frustrate you by saying you got to do it again because we didn't get enough blood. Now, let me tell you a little secret. You might get a little when you use that lancet that comes in your kit to poke your finger. Okay, you're going to be squeezing your finger in that little blue pod that we give you. You might be tempted to touch your finger on the pod to get the blood off your finger. Don't do that. Don't do it, because it doesn't seem like it, but that's less than a drop of blood. It's a full drop of blood when it drips from your finger. You see, you're giving me only like a third of your blood when you dab it on the little pod. Okay? There's a little cotton pad in there, so don't let it touch. You just want to let it freely drop. So do that. The second thing that I'm asking you not to do, don't put it in a paper envelope. Because what's happening is I don't know if you've ever seen those videos, especially around Christmas time. These videos come out and talk about how our FedEx and UPS and even the U.S. postal system just beat the dickens out of our mail. They throw it and toss it, stomp on it, and they don't treat it very well. So you put that pod in a paper envelope, it's going to rip and it's going to fall out and you lost it. So don't do that. Use the plastic envelope that I give you. That prevents it from tearing. Those little expensive pouches, they don't look like it. They're expensive. So use them. And it's the kind of plastic that all you have to do is write right on the plastic and for the address, and you're covered. So use that. And then you can put your stamp right on it. Okay. We got some of that business taken care of. I encourage you to spend time in on your online back office and become more familiar. At least weekly, we're adding new stuff to it. Now, I will be honest that we have some major changes that we've been working on in the back end and that we haven't made available. You can't see it, but it's there. It's just we're tweaking it and testing it and working all the bugs out of it. So be patient. I know you're tired of me saying that, but honestly, we're doing some cool things with the software. And but go on there and look at the information we're putting on there. In the next day or so, I'll be having a new facts page that looks beautiful, and you'll be proud to show it to people. Talks about our program in wonderful, colorful bullet points called infographics. Great stuff. And since we were talking a little bit about testimonies, at the beginning, Merv said that he calls all his people every week to invite them to the webinar, and that's a lot of work because he's been busy. I don't know what he does during the day, but whatever it is, it involves 3Believe, and he's enrolled a lot of people. He calls them every week and invites them. What a wonderful touch! What a personalized touch! And in that, he said that he heard a lot of testimonies, a lot of people talking about the product. Well, why in the world don't I have those testimonies? I plead with you. Write them down. It's not because I print them off and stick them on my wall and I pat myself on the back. Okay, I do that. but I post them on the website too, so that other people can see them and be motivated and inspired by what you experience. Don't keep your experience. You may think that it's nothing. I'm here to tell you, after coaching thousands of people and being involved with clinics that have coached and serviced tens of thousands of clients, that a testimony that you have will inspire another person. It may be just what they need to push them to the end. So don't be selfish with them. Please, please send them in. All right. We're going to talk about, I told you that every week we have this little manual here. It's ever growing. Let me move it here. This is the manual that that will be one of the features on the website. It will explain by ingredient why your CMR is so unique to everybody else's out there. And so it's one thing for me to tell you about it, but it's another for me to go through and give you examples. And so what I told you a few weeks ago is that I'm going to start going through one item at a time. I'll try to cover two if they're short, but we have we have just under 80 ingredients. And if we cover one a week, that's a year and a half. So I'll try and cover two a week if I can. And so let's talk about the next one on the list, and that is alma, or amla. I'm sorry. Amla is a fruit. It's also known as amalaki or the Indian gooseberry. And the reason why it is so important is because of the reasons I'm gonna tell you here in a second. So I'm gonna skip all the scientific stuff that's there. I'm gonna hit the highlights, okay? And so everything that I put in the product has been clinically researched, double-blind-sided placebo testing, and peer-reviewed by their professional, their associates. And so I know that it works. All right. So again, I told you that the ingredient on the panel that you see, I put it as AMLA, AMLA. But don't forget, if you hear me slip up and I say amlaki or I say gooseberry, it's the same thing. Now, in the Indian culture, the Indian gooseberry can be partially attributed to its high vitamin C content. Amla enhances food absorption. It balances your stomach acid, fortifies the liver, which you know is a key component to metabolic syndrome remedies, nourishes your brain and mental function, supports the heart, strengthens the lungs, regulates and eliminates free radicals, which we know is not a good thing. We don't want those things buzzing around our body. Enhances fertility. I know Merv has been looking for more enhancement. Helps the urinary system, increases skin health, promotes healthier hair, acts as a body coolant, flushes out your toxins, increases vitality, strengthens eyes, improves muscle tone, and acts as an antioxidant. Now, I'm going to go through each one of these and talk about how it does that. In the case of hair care, amla is used in many hair tonics in India because it enriches the hair growth and hair pigmentation. It strengthens the root of the hair. It maintains the color and actually reduces the timeline of your hair turning silver. Why is it that it's silver for men and gray for women? I don't understand that. It's just gray. It's white, right? And it also improves the luster of the hair. You know? It also clinically has been shown. And remember, all these things that I'm mentioning I have backed up by clinical studies. Eye care. Taking the CMR, because it has one of the ingredients of the amla, is great for improving your eyesight. For those of you who have been with us a while, you've heard me read some testimonies about people that have talked about their eyesight. So studies have shown that it improves nearsightedness and cataracts, while reducing intraocular tension. This is mainly due to the impressive content in the fruit. By the way, amlaki is a little berry. It's about the size of a cherry. It's bright green and it's super tart with kind of a bitter quality to it. So it's not something you just eat off the tree, though people do, but they sweeten it. It has a huge amount of carotene in it, which has long been known for its powerful effects with vision-related conditions, including those that stem from free radical activity. It has a high level of vitamin A in it and carotenes, reducing macular degeneration, night blindness, and strengthens your vision before the age-related degeneration from free radicals can occur, which is great. It improves your calcium absorption by 12 times, which is fantastic. Calcium is a very important mineral. But the problem is our bodies have a hard time absorbing it. Another one is it helps control diabetes because it has high levels of chromium in that relationship with the cellular level. It has a therapeutic value for diabetic patients. So those that are diabetic or have friends that are diabetic, this is one of the reasons why the CMR is so effective in helping because it isolates the group of cells that secrete the hormone insulin, right? Thereby reducing blood sugar levels and the amount of insulin that's required. It makes the cells more insulin sensitive so that they're not ignoring the insulin. And that in turn lowers the glucose levels in the blood so they don't have elevated blood sugar levels. It aids in digestion. Now, it reduces the chance of constipation because you're taking the CMR with the amla in it. It also stimulates the secretion of gastric and digestive juices. Now, since it's a food, it'll also increase the absorbability of other foods that are difficult to digest, like really fatty foods. Heart disease. There's been great studies showing that amla is great for heart disease because it strengthens the heart muscle. And it reduces the excess cholesterol buildup. The chromium in it can reduce the chances of atherosclerosis or plaque buildup in the vessels or arteries, which means that it reduces your chance of stroke and heart attack. Promotes the creation of new blood cells. Can you believe that all this stuff from just one ingredient? You know, when you hear stories about other companies, they'll talk about an ingredient and they'll go through the list like I am, but that's their only benefit because it's the only ingredient. We have almost 80 just in CMR. So all the things I'm talking about is one ingredient that's out of all of the 80 that are in the formula. This is why I put it in there. It also treats infection because it's an excellent antibacterial and astringent fruit. It protects the body against infections and improves the body's immune system. It increases the white blood cell count, which is our soldiers, right, to go out and fight infection, which is the main line of defense for the immune system. Since white blood cells attack and eliminate foreign toxins and substances in your bloodstream, which means that's helps fight infection throughout your body. Now, it improves appetite. Now, some of you might be saying, what in the world? Why do you put something in there that may improve my appetite? Well, you've heard me talk about one gentleman that I'm coaching because he's a father of a friend of mine. He's 85 years old and has been losing muscle mass for the last 3 years at a terrible rate. And so he came in. Our goal was to get rid of his visceral fat around his organs, but increase his muscle mass. Now, he actually could afford to put some muscle on his arms and the rest of his body, but he had an unhealthy level of fat around his organs. Now, you go out to another product and say, this is what I want it to do. I want you to increase the fat on all the rest of my body except for around my organs. Can you make it do that? It's like a miracle. So one of the things that he complained about was that he didn't have an appetite to eat. He didn't like the food, didn't taste good to him. It didn't excite him at all. And you know, when you don't want to eat, you don't want to eat. And now he eats literally now. He eats between 6 and 8 meals a day. They're not gigantic meals. 4 of those meals are the CMR shake every day, 4 times, sometimes more if he's had a real busy day. But it improves the appetite, which also balances out your nitrogen levels. Now, you heard me talk about nitrogen, which is an important toxin to get rid of when your body's processing proteins. So all this from this little tiny fruit. It helps, ladies, you'll be glad to know that it helps with anti-aging. It helps with hyperlipidemia, which is the medical term for high cholesterol. And it does that because it reduces the free radicals in the body and increases the antitoxin the antioxidant quality to fight those free radicals. For those of you that are interested in getting rid of wrinkles and age spots, amla can help do that as well. Amla is one of a rare class of natural foods that's been highly studied. Over 1,200 individual clinical studies have been done on this ingredient. That's why we put it in there. Now, we don't get this fruit that's picked off the tree and then just grind it up into powder and put it in your shake. I actually had that done by another company. And this company actually is from India. They are one of the largest nutraceutical companies in India. They have the highest standards, meeting U.S. standards, not just India's, but ours, which are more strict. And they have more patents on the process of extracting the tannins and the nutrients in the amla fruit that actually has the magic. No other company has it as high a level as they do. And they do it all by natural means and not by solvents, which a lot of companies use. And so I buy it from this company. I can buy amla on the market for about $9 to $12 a kilo. And I buy it from this company for $60 a kilo. It's a lot more money. Why do I do that? Because they got the science behind it. Why would I give you something that in namesake, I can put it on the label and you go do some research and says, yeah, look at Jason, put this on there. Thumbs up. Good job. But if it's not doing anything for you, if it doesn't have the tannin levels that it needs to actually have an effect at the cellular level, then it's a waste of money, even at $10 or $12 a kilo, right? So if I'm going to put something in there, I'm going to make sure that it's something that actually works. And that's why we use that one. So hopefully some of you took notes. If you didn't, this is recorded and you can listen to it again at a later time. Now, I'm going to talk about the second ingredient. Now, it's actually not an ingredient inside the CMR, but it's an important component to your meal, and that's the omega oil. Now, I've heard through a little bird through the grapevine that some of you are not taking it, or some of you are not taking 2 full pumps in every serving. Not 1 pump, but 2 full pumps. That's equal to 1 tablespoon. Now, some of you are looking at the label and counting up those calories and you say, holy cow, why in the world would I take an extra 120 calories of fat, mind you, and add it when I'm trying to lose weight? I want you to grab out your pen and paper, open up your heart and your mind, have an open mind, and let me see if I can uh, intellectually stimulate and prove to you that you do want to use that much, and in some cases more. Now, you've heard me talk about that I don't use 2 pumps. I use between, depending on the day, I use about 8 to 10 pumps in every shake. And I have them 3, 4 times a day. Why? Why do I do that? Because I know the benefits. I can feel the benefits of what it provides me. So let's go through some of the things. Why we carefully made the EFAs important. Now, EFA stands for essential fatty acids. That's omega fats. Now, some of the greatest health concerns facing us in the United States or in any westernized nation are the prevalence of omega-3 deficiency. Now, in a study done in the U.S., 99% of the population is deficient in omega-3. That means they're not getting enough. Now, did you hear what I said? Only 1% of the population, 1 out of 100 people, are getting the right amount of omega-3. Now, the overabundance of industrial, highly refined vegetable oils, mostly omega-6, so if you're getting margarine, okay, that's not butter. The fat you think you're saving by using margarine is doing more damage to your body than the calories you're saving. One, it's loaded with omega-6. There's no omega-3 in it. And even some of the ones that you see on the label, they'll add omega-3 to it. It's a trace amounts. It's not enough to overshadow the amount of omega-6. It's rampant in our food supply. And when they make that vegetable oils into a solid, they have to damage. At toxic levels, they damage the oil. So omega-6 in and of itself is not a bad oil. It's a healthy oil. In fact, you have to have it to have optimum health. That's why I put it in our blend. It's 2 things that make omega-6 bad for us. One is the processing of it. They industrialize, expose it to light and oxygen, chemicals, and heat. And that damages and even turns what was good and healthy into a toxin for our body. That's one of the reasons why omega-6 is bad in our industrialized source. The other one is the amount of it. It's too much. You've heard me say that omega-6 is kind of like kissing. Kissing's a wonderful thing. It's a great thing, but not at 80 miles an hour on the freeway. There's a time for it, and there's a time maybe you shouldn't. And you don't want to be doing it all the time. You can't be kissing when you're at work, kissing when you're talking to, your minister at church, right? Too much of a good thing can be damaging. So 2 things that make omega-6 bad. The one that we put in ours, and I'll explain a little bit later, why we don't have ours be damaged by the processing that I talked about. So what makes our oil so special? Well, one is that it's really we've pioneered the work of good fats from the very beginning when we started 9 years ago. To make the oil blend with health in mind, we designed a special process that excludes light and oxygen and heat as much as possible. Now, these 3 factors will turn healthy EFAs, essential fatty acids, oils into unhealthy toxic ones. Now, that's backed up by clinical studies. This also is why you will find our Pro Omega oil, our 369, in a brown bottle, and why we ask you to store it in your cooler. Don't leave it out on the counter, because we understand the critical role and balance of omega-3 to omega-6 plays in your health. We blended the omega-3 with a ratio of 2.5 times more omega-3 to the amount of omega-6, because you're already getting too much of it in your diet. So I'm throwing it off kilter, and your body's supposed to have more omega-3 than omega-6 anyway. And then 1-to-1, it means the same amount of omega-6 to omega-9, they have the same amount. And then we've added something that no one else has done, a clinically proven formula to cleanse and defat your liver. Why? Because your liver processes the oils and it doesn't do it very well. Even the best oil out there, even ours, it doesn't process it as well as it could if it has a fatty liver. So I want your liver to thin out. Okay? No other company in the world makes an oil with the same level of care and quality that we do. Now, who is our oil designed for? Well, every single person that's taking the CMR. Do not take the CMR without the oil. Please don't count the calories and say, I want to lose weight. Why is Jason giving me extra fat? I want to lose weight. There have been a handful, enough large clinical studies where it took a body of morbidly obese. Now, what's the definition of morbidly obese individuals? You have overweight, you have obese, and you have morbidly obese. So to be overweight is 1 pound over your ideal weight, right up to 29 pounds over your ideal weight. Once you hit 30 pounds over your ideal weight, you are obese. Once you've hit 99 pounds and then cross over to 100 pounds over your ideal weight, you are morbidly obese. That's the difference. So they took morbidly obese. These are the people that don't need any more fat, all right? 2 groups, and they had them on the exact same diet and the exact same exercise regimen. And then they gave one group omega fats, okay, and the other group none. What kind of omega fats? 369, okay? And in the same period of time, the ones that were on the omega oil burned twice as much body fat in the same period of time as those that were not on the oil. Part of the reason why is because omega-3 does, and all the omega oils, but especially omega-3, doesn't break down the same way as other fats. More importantly, your body has an extremely difficult time converting that essential fatty acid into body fat. In other words, if you get more omega fat than your body needs, okay? And I'll go over how much your body needs here in a second. But if it gets more than what it needs, it will take another fat and convert it to body fat and store it for a rainy day for use later on. But it can't do that very well with omega fats because of how it's structured. And so your body just eliminates it. It goes out in your feces. That's a fantastic thing. Also, studies show that it takes 13 body energy calories to burn 1 gram of omega fat. Now, how many grams of how many calories do you get from 1 gram of fat? 9. So you get 9 calories from energy, and it takes 13 to burn it off. So you're at a negative energy burn. That's why those morbidly individuals burned more fat while they were taking it. Take the oil. Don't shortchange yourself. Another reason that the essential fatty acids are required for health and normal development of all stages of the human life cycle, which means that this oil blend is made for everybody, not just those that are on the CMR, everybody that's trying to lose weight. It supports natural function of the cells, of your tissue of your body, the glands and organs, and as a result supports a healthy cardiovascular system, your brain function and nerve function. The list goes on and on. It's also designed for anyone who is not getting enough undamaged EFAs. Who is that? 99% of the U.S. population. Okay? They consume too many damaged omega-6. Who's that? 99% of the U.S. population. Also those that want to be vegetarian, or should I say even vegan, because it is not fish-based. There's no fish in it. And it comes completely from organic, non-GMO, plant-based sources. So it's safe for anyone that wants to lean towards a vegetarian diet. For those that want to get a wider, more complex range of unrefined, non-fat oil sources back into your diet. It's those people that are concerned about toxins and and because the essential or the eicosanoids, which I'll talk about in a second, are great at aiding your body and getting rid of toxins. Omega fats have a high level of eicosanoids. Now, that's probably a term you haven't heard, but I'll tell you about it in a second. Okay? So, our blend is made up of our own proprietary blend of organic flax seeds, sesame seeds, sunflower, safflower, organic coconut oil, also known as MCT, not the solid coconut oil, but the MCT, which is a great product, organic rice and oat germ oil, mixed with some vitamin E, and then of course our liver cleanse product. So let's talk a little bit about the eicosanoids. Now, we didn't know that they existed before about 25 years ago. An eicosanoid is a signaling molecule, and the reason why we didn't know it existed because we didn't have equipment to measure it. We didn't even know it was there, right? And it happens inside the cell. Now, it doesn't stay in the cell; it goes outside the cell and works with the tissues and outside, but it happens in a flash of a second. So it just happens and then it's gone. And so the measuring devices weren't invented yet to be able to do that. But these signaling molecules exert complex control over many body systems, mainly inflammation or immunity. All right. So let me go through some of the key pathways. This is, again, all in the oil. This is why you want to take the oil and lots of it. So eicosanoids are signaling molecules made by the oxidation of when essential fatty acids are burned off or when they're broken down. Okay, so as they're being broken down, these eicosanoids have a plethora of signalings for them to fire off and be made. Now, omega-6 is generally more pro-inflammatory, meaning it promotes inflammation. Omega-3, on the other hand, reduces it. And that's one reason why we want to reduce your inflammation, lower your pain levels and your stress levels. That's one reason why I double it up. Now, over 100 years ago, Bayer Aspirin invented their little tablet, still used today, still recommended by doctors and physicians and cardiologists. But until recently, in the last 20 years, they didn't even know why it worked. They do now. The reason why aspirin works is because it downgrades or downregulating eicosanoid synthesis. Isn't that amazing? I often wonder how 100 years ago did someone come up with a pill, the Bayer aspirin, and didn't even know why it worked, but it worked? I believe inspiration. But there are 4 different groups of eicosanoids. I'm not going to go into them because it gets into a high level, but each one has its own firing mechanism of what it does for the body. And so it's important that you have a proper balance of them. This is again why I give you 2.5 times more omega-3 than omega-6. You're getting too much of the 2 of these 4 families of eicosanoids are pro-inflammation. If you don't have something to fight that inflammation, like the oil that I give you, you're going to have more pain. You're going to have more stress on your body. Your body's going to age faster. So, boys and girls, please do not stop taking the oil or reduce the amount. And you've heard me talk about why would you take more? If you're feeling tired at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, then increase the pump to 3 pumps at the meal prior to when you're tired, which would be lunchtime. If you're feeling it in the morning, then increase it in your morning meal. If you're feeling it when you wake up, then take it in your evening meal, right? Just increase it. Now, what if you're on phase 4 and you're not taking multiple CMRs throughout the day? Well, it doesn't have a fish taste. It just tastes kind of nutty. Put it on your salad. Don't cook it. Don't heat it up. You'll ruin it. All right. You'll get rid of all the powerful benefits to it. But you can put it on your salad. You can mix it and drink. My wife puts it in her tea. The temperature of the tea is fine, just as long as it's not boiling when you put it in there. Uh, Let me rephrase that. You could put it at, pour your boiling tea in, steep your tea bag, and then add your oil. Oil is ruined, or any product starts to degrade on two factors: temperature, how high it is, and length of time in that state. It takes about 13 minutes for oil to be broken down at a temperature over 300 degrees. Okay, so it's not going to do it. Water boils at about 220, depending where you're at as far as sea level, and so if you pour it in after you've steeped your tea, you're fine. It's not going to damage it. And that's one way you can get it in without having it in a shake. All right, or put it right in your meal. Just mix it in your dinner. You won't be able to taste it. 1 tablespoon, 2 squirts. I sneak it into my children and grandchildren's food all the time, and they never know. I've even put it into ice cream, and I mix it up so it's soft, and they never know. So, please take the oil, okay? Don't shortchange yourself. You will feel better. Your body will respond. How long, if you're looking for more energy or tired, how long should you increase the oil before you know it's the right amount of increase? How long would you receive a response physiologically? You'll feel it in 2, 3 hours. So it's quick. So your test doesn't have to last very long. That's the good news. So a lot of high science stuff. I hope I didn't put any of you to sleep. I love this kind of stuff, so I can talk about it forever. But let's talk about some other points before I hand the ball back off to Merv. We this month, in this month, or actually last month's production, we had our very first person qualify for generational bonus 1. And as you know, if you've spent some time on the compensation plan, there's 4 levels. And so congratulations, hard work, and that generational bonus is in addition to his unilevel and his fast start bonus. Remind you of those terms. What's the fast start bonus? When you sign someone up, their very first month's worth of transactions, you get 45%. The following month, you get 20. That 45% is called the fast start bonus, and that's a darn good fast start bonus. Okay, and that's all part of your unilevel. So your first level, your second level, and your third level is your unilevel. So he got paid on his unilevel, and then he also got paid in addition to that on his generational bonus. What is that? Generational bonus is everything that's not included in his unilevel, or all the levels beyond level 3. So level 4 and on. Good job. Very good job. So I'm going to hit you up again with sharing 3Believe. You can, there's room for you to have generational bonus. It's not really that difficult to be able to share something that's that powerful. Now, last week I challenged you to talk to one person. Those of you that had already talked to one about 3Believe, I asked to talk to 2. And those that have talked to 10, I asked you to talk to 11. All I asked you to do is just do one more. And the benefits, the best benefit is your testimony, and have them try it. They'll see the results just like you. You know that the results are there. And so those are great sharing issues that you should be sharing with your people. Some people have asked about essential oils. Now, when we first started 3Believe, there was a lot of talk about the essential oils, and they're still on the program. I'm leaving them on the shelf on purpose for now. Now, one is just a good business decision, because once. We're not quite out of pre-launch. It would be kind of silly to launch a brand new product, or a line of products, I should say, while we're still in pre-launch. And so that's one reason why. The other reason is because now I'm gonna be a little bit of a tongue-in-cheek here, okay? The other tongue-in-cheek I'm gonna mention is, why would I bring out another product when you're not promoting the 3Believe? Now, here's one perspective. There are many, by the millions, tens of millions, that need the curing of the symptoms of metabolic syndrome, where essential oils can't do that. The number of people that eat food, like the CMR, far outweigh those that have to have aromatherapy with essential oils. It's not that it's not valuable, it's just that it's in comparison. And so no one is suffering from a physiological dysfunction because they're not getting enough essential oils. But that is the case with what can be provided with the 3Believe dietary program, the wellness program. So with a loving kind of smile and hint, I'm not holding that leverage over you, but think about that for a minute. Promote the 3Believe. You will, the essential oils is an add-on that we plan to be able to emphasize and kind of like a supplement. For example, in the winter months, I start taking more digestive enzymes to increase my body's immune strength to fight off infection and viruses. And that's what essential oils would be. It would be a supplement, an add-on to a foundation. The CMR and the oil will always be our foundation because that's where a majority of the heavy lifting is done. So yes, we start still coming out with it. I'm not going to give you a date right now, but it's still on the board to be produced. Merv, I think I'm done with my material. Do you have anything that you'd like me to go over?
Well, you cover about everything. That was phenomenal. That was just phenomenal. We got lots of just phenomenal ingredients in the program. It's just incredible. So that's a good call. Super call.
We've been very, very fortunate. Do you have anything you want to add?
Not really. No, not really. No, that was good.
Let me ask if is there anyone out there that has a question that you'd like me to answer?
Anybody have a specific questions?
Oh, this is John, and I have a question.
Okay, please.
I've been on the program, the protocol, for about 4 weeks. I've lost quite a bit of weight. I'm doing well, and I noticed in one of your video presentations that I should be switching to the P6 from the P22. I've almost achieved my target weight. I have macular, so I was hoping that maybe that would be helpful. So should I stay on the P22 or switch to the P6?
Okay, so let me mute everybody so we don't have any background noise here. What the gentleman is asking is he's been on the program for about 4 weeks. He's lost a good amount of weight. Congratulations. Good job. Is that the power of the program, or is that his persistence in staying on it? And I have to pat him on the back. It's just him doing the program. Good job. And he mentioned that he's within a few pounds of his target weight. Now, he hit on a key point there. When we switch from when we switch from phase 1 to phase 2 is when we reach at least 90% of our desired weight to be lost before we switch into phase 2. For example, if we need to lose 30 pounds and you've lost 27, then it would be a time to switch over into the phase 2. But it doesn't have to be that way, because some people honestly feel better staying in phase 1. I'm one of them. I just feel better that way. So you got to be a little bit intuitive. You got to listen to your body a little bit. Now, the other thing they mention is when should I switch from the P22 to the P6? He's heard a little bit of rumblings that that's what he should be doing. The reason why you want to switch from P22 to P6 is because I do something in our formula that nobody else does in the world that I know of. I don't know the whole world, but I haven't seen any yet, and I do quite a bit of surfing. My people surf, and that is I increase the digestive ability of the protein that I'm giving you, or should I say, of your body's ability to absorb the proteins, the amino acids, at the cellular level. Because I have ingredients in there that no one else has. Not only the enzymes, but bioperin, which increases the absorption, your cellular absorption of all nutrients, including amino acids. Okay? So if you're absorbing more than what your body used to be able to absorb, and you're counting your protein limit, and you say, well, I was taking, 120 grams of protein before, and I need that now. Well, that's not true, because you're eating that much protein, but your body was not digesting it. On average, you were digesting about 47% of those proteins, less than half of it. Even though you're eating it and paying for it, your body wasn't getting it. Okay? When I give you my formula, I boost the digestive quality between 97 and 98% of the protein that you're getting. Therefore, you don't need the P22 most of the time. Here's examples of when not to switch to P6 or P3. If you're trying to put muscle mass back on because you've lost so much, like the gentleman I mentioned that was 85, that's lost so much key muscle that I want him to gain it. So that would be one reason to keep them on the P22. Okay? But if you're trying to lose body fat, and it's going to be harder for you to continue to lose it if you're on P22 for more than about 6 weeks, 4 weeks to 6 weeks, right in there, because the extra protein is going to be broken down into glucose, and you'll get an insulin response. And if you remember, you cannot burn stored body fat if you have insulin secreting from the pancreas. Just can't be done. Okay? And so lowering the amount of protein, all the other ingredients I put in there, or I leave at the same levels as the P22, except I reduce and change the formulation of the enzymes a little bit for the P6. That way you can continue to lose the weight. So that's why you'd switch. Now I take, unless I'm trying to build, which is now, I had surgery done on my shoulders, and I'm trying to build those muscles in my shoulders, lifting a lot. I went to the gym today, a little sore and tired, and so I'm really trying to pack on muscle on my shoulders, and so I've gone back to the P22. But I'm working out every day, and some days I'm doing 2 a days. I'm doing that 3 times a week. And so I need those extra amino acids. But the rest of the time, most people should be on the P6. And if you're at regular levels, even in exercise levels, P3 is often very effective as well. I was on P3 before I had my shoulders done, and I'm 210 pounds. So, and I have only 13-14% body fat. So I have a high level of muscle. So hopefully that's helpful. Any other questions? Well, I think I've done a good job. Marv, if you will sign us off, I appreciate your attention. And thank you very much for putting your time and your trust in 3Believe. And I give you my word that I will or ever try to earn your patronage. Thank you. Good night, and God bless you.
Good call. Super call. Thank you, everybody.
Yep.
We appreciate you being on a call.
Yep. Thank you, Jason. I really appreciate the mix-up on everything there. You did a good job.
Thank you, sir.
Lots of good information.
Thank you.
Lots of good information. Phenomenal. Thank you, everybody. Good night, everybody.